Oh, in this video we're checking out these ND filters from Freewell. This is the all-day 8-pack. These are for the DJI Osmo Action camera. This is actually, and it comes in one case here, actually a combination of two separate packs you can buy separately. And it shows it here in the manual. So you have your standard day, which is going to be 4 filters, the ND4, ND8, ND16, and the CPL. And the bright day, which is the ND8 Polarizer, ND16 Polarizer, ND32, and ND64, all with the Polarizer. Those are the 8 filters on here. They also, before I forget, they also have other ones that you can get. They have long exposure with higher ND values there, landscape, and light pollution. So they have a bunch of other products you can get that you can use with your Osmo Action camera, depending on the kind of situation you want to use it for. But this is going to be pretty versatile. This is what you get here for most situations in a bright day. And I'll show you a lot of sample footage here of basically some water scenes, and also I use this on a drone. I'll show you some sort of before and after, with and without an ND filter. So it's show you the difference between what you can get in terms of footage using in different situations. Just quickly, I just want to show you how this is used. So it comes in this nice case here with some magnets, so it makes it nice and secure. All the filters are in a little piece of foam here. It's held nice and secure. I believe these are the standard filters here. They just screw on and off. And this there is the ND4, no polarizer on that one. You can just take the standard, this is the stock lens cover, you can pop that off, and then you can just screw on whatever filter you want to use. It just screws on very nice. And you want to screw down tight, because if you happen to use it in a water situation, you want to maintain the seal there so the camera doesn't get water damaged. And that's how this is a standard one. But if you want to use, let's say, one with a polarizer, this is the ND64 with a polarizer. So again, it just screws on, but the outer ring here rotates, and as you rotate this, the exposure values that you're going to get do change a little bit, slightly. And on top of that, this polarizer reduces glare. So I'll say if you're filming something where there's a lot of water and you want to see maybe into the water instead of just getting glare off the water, if you use the polarizer and then find the correct angle based on where the light is reflecting off of the water, you can reduce that glare to where you can actually see into the water. I'll show you some examples of that in the later part of the video. Okay, so I just want to show you a quick example of how to use the filters. And you want to use this in manual mode. So right now this is in automatic mode, and you want to be able to reduce the shutter speed so that you get that nice smooth video that looks more pleasing to the eye versus the very high shutter speed video that is rather unpleasant for most people. So you want to go into manual mode and then swipe over from the left, click manual here, and in a bright day I will usually just set the ISO to 100. And then here you can set the shutter speed. So the camera's currently set to 1080 30 frames per second. And I guess the 180 rule says you want to set this to double the frame rate. So I'm going to change this from 120 to 1/60. So if you're filming at 60 frames per second, then you want to be at 120. And then you can see once we change the shutter speed to 1/60, we have an EV value of negative 0.3, so it's a little bit underexposed. And this is actually without the ND filter on right now. This is just the standard stock lens. Okay, so let me see if I can turn up these lights here. These studio lights they're illuminating this drone here, and turn them all the way up. So now we're at that EV of about 1, so it's overexposed here according to the light meter. And so we can use a ND filter to get the correct exposure while reducing the shutter speed. As I'm saying, we have a set shutter speed of 1/60. So I'm going to try the ND4 and see what my exposure value turns out to be. Bring that over, and that did reduce the exposure to, now it's actually underexposed from overexposed, just going from no ND filter to an ND4 filter. Obviously, if I'm outside on a really bright sunny day, then these are going to be more exaggerated versus showing this example indoors. And you took the filter back off, and again, we're now a little bit overexposed. You can adjust the light here. Yeah. So if what you really want to do is you want to find the right ND filter when you're outside, so you have an EV value of 0 there. That's your goal. So when I was doing my sample testing outside, it was a really sunny day, and I think I was using an ND3 to an ND64 filter for most of the sample shots. Okay, so here's some of the sample footage I took with some of the filters I used. Here's a water fountain, and this is an example without using any filters at all. So you can see that's at a high shutter speed, and when you freeze the video, you can actually see the individual water droplets, which, you know, some people don't particularly find that cinematic or visually pleasing in video. Now if you go ahead and use, I think in this case I used an ND32 filter, in this example you can clearly see that there is blur in the water. You can't see quite as much of the individual water droplets, and it looks much more pleasing when you actually play it back at full speed. Okay, here's a couple more examples of the ND filters in action, running water here, and I'm actually running this footage at half speed, so you can kind of see the effect of the slower shutter speed. It's going to be a little more apparent when you slow the video down. And then of course you can use the filters for photography as well, and of course this camera can do photographs, so I also used the filters here, adjusted my exposure settings using, I believe this particular photo is an ND64, and you can clearly see that the water is very blurred. I think if you get some of the other higher numbered filters, you can probably even get the shutter speed lower and get even more motion blur in your photography. And here's another example of the polarizer in action. So you can see here as I'm adjusting the polarizer, what you can see on the surface of the water and also what you can see under the water. You can see the little rocks that are under the water show up better as you rotate the polarizer. And of course, as you go all the way to the end where the polarizer wasn't really working, you get all that glare off the water and you can't really see into the water. So depending upon what kind of video you want to get, you just adjust the polarizer to the look that you're trying to achieve. Now lastly, here is a couple of drone shots. So obviously you can use the filters on things that are moving, you can film things that are moving, or you can put the camera on something that is actually moving, and then the things that are on the ground that aren't moving are going to be going by, and you're going to get that nice motion blur from the filters because of the lower shutter speed. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful in terms of showing you what the ND filters could be used for and how it could enhance your video. I'll put all the links to the products down in the description if you're interested in checking it out. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.